Stay with us here on the Pulse. Let's start from the court, where the Attorney General and Minister for Justice, Dr. Justice Sremsai, has told an Accra High Court that government is waging a relentless onslaught on Galamsey financiers and kingpins in efforts to deal with the illegal mining menace. Well, the Deputy Attorney General, who is leading the prosecution of the NPP's Ashanti Regional Chairman, popularly known as Chairman Wontumi, told the Accra High Court illegal mining remains the country's biggest problem, and both random galamseyers and the kingpins will be dealt with to the full extent of the law, regardless of who they are, really. Kweku Asante was in court with Chairman Wontumi, the first in this latest effort by government to deal with illegal mining. He filed this report.
Ashanti Regional Chairman of the New Patriotic Party, Bernard Enchibo, popularly known as Chairman Wontumi, is facing two separate criminal cases of alleged illegal mining activities involving his company, Akonta Mining Limited. Both cases were heard at the High Court here in Accra, where he has pleaded not guilty to all the charges. Chairman Wontumi's legal troubles deepened this week when he appeared before the police CID prior to being put before two different courts in Accra to answer a total of 13 charges, all linked to alleged illegal mining operations in the Tano Nimiri Forest Reserve and Samreboy in the Western region. Chairman Wontumi and four others, including his Akonta Mining Company Limited, were arraigned on 7 counts of unlawful mining and environmental destruction. The prosecution alleged that Akonta Mining, under the direction of Chairman Wontumi and his associates, operated illegally within the Tano Nimiri Forest Reserve in 2022, despite being denied a permit to do so. They are accused of destroying about 13 hectares of land, felling over 300 trees, and erecting buildings within the reserve without authorization. After hearing arguments from both sides, the court in this matter granted Chairman Wontumi bail in a sum of 10 million cedis with two sureties, one of whom must justify with landed property. Earlier in the day, Chairman Wontumi had appeared in another criminal court where he faced 6 separate charges for breaches of Ghana's mining laws. In that case, he was granted 15 million cedis bail with 3 sureties and placed on a stop list at all entry and exit points of the country. The court also ordered him to deposit his passport, report to investigators twice a month. The 6 counts in that case includes unauthorized assignment of mineral rights and facilitating unlicensed mining operations, which prosecutors say occurred within Akonta Mining's concession at Samreboy in the Western region. A second accused person, Kwame Entry, is currently at large. Both cases stem from investigations by the Criminal Investigations Department, which found evidence of large-scale destruction in parts of the Tano Nimiri Forest Reserve. Officials say excavators bearing Akonta Mining's logo were used in operations that led to the extensive environmental damage, including river pollution and deforestation. Chairman Wontumi has maintained his innocence in both cases. Bernard Enchibo has since failed to meet the bail conditions, at least for tonight, and will sleep in police custody.
What these bail conditions mean for NPP's Ashanti Regional Chairman Wontumi Bernard Enchibo is that until this trial, in which he is accused of facilitating illegal mining, is concluded, he is unable to travel outside the country, perhaps without the permission of the court. And any time he wishes to do so on any basis, he would have to apply to the court for the court to give him permission, or perhaps for the court to revise the bail conditions. But until then, Chairman Wontumi is not allowed to travel outside the country. Reporting for Joy News, Kweku Asante, High Court Complex, Accra.
Well, Chairman Wontumi, we understand, is still in police custody after his lawyers failed to secure his bail conditions yesterday. We will be touching base with one of his lawyers this afternoon on the Pulse, and Kyebi, to get updates on that, if indeed they've met all the bail conditions and if Wontumi is a free man as we speak. But away from that, residents of Kyebi are grappling with a severe water crisis after the Kyebi water treatment plant, the municipality's only primary source of potable water, was shut down over 3 months ago. The closure comes after illegal mining activities, commonly known as galamsey, turned the once pristine Brim River, the lifeline of the community, into a thick sludge, pushing turbidity levels to a staggering 64,000 NTU, far above the safe threshold of 2,000 NTU. The impact on daily life is devastating. Thousands of residents now struggle to access clean water, with families, schools and clinics forced to rely on unsafe alternatives or rely on sachet water. Speaking on Newsdesk, Member of Parliament for Aboagye South, Dr. Kingsley Ajiman, said the situation is causing a major health crisis in his municipality.
The rivers or the waters are beyond treatment. That is why the Kyebi treatment plant of the Ghana Water Company has shut down. To see my people without water, when it is usually agreed that water is life, means that we have to have a clarion call, and to see the open display of these excavators along major roads in the constituency, the impunity with which this is continuing is very disheartening. I'm frightened. And as a member of parliament, to see my people have a lot of renal, skin rashes, and waterborne diseases is not something that I can be excited about. I think it's about time that we, the constituents, have to come to the realization that this thing has really gotten us to our neck. We have to stop it, because those involved in this activity, the few greedy people, we the people who have good conscience, must rise up and stop this. We may not need any executive direction from the presidency. We are bearing the heat of what is happening to us. The sanitation issues that has arisen as a result of this galamsey is so much noticeable. We don't have water.
So you said there's no potable water in your constituency. How are residents coping? What sources of water is accessible to them now?
They are relying on sachet water, which is not sustainable. And even the disposal of this sachet, because it's not biodegradable, is something that is going to have a further knock-on effect on our environment.
Well, we're trying to establish contact with the Ghana Water Company to know the current state of the Kyebi treatment plant, but unfortunately we do not have them. Meanwhile, the National Anti-Illegal Mining Task Force continues operations to clamp down on illegal mining activities. Yesterday, the task force carried out raids on several river bodies, seizing mining equipment used in unauthorized operations. And that statement is coming up on your screens right now from NIMAS, just giving us updates on some of the key operations. And it states on your screens now that on Tuesday, October 7, 2025, NIMAS operation disrupted galamsey activities along the Ankombra River in Zima municipality of the Western region. Now, these are the equipment they seized. 1 excavator, 100 makeshift structures set ablaze, 7 champagnes destroyed, 88 water pumping machines have been seized as well. And during the meeting with the CSO, the Lands Minister just gave us an update that all the water pumping machines that have been seized so far would be distributed to farmers. Now, they go on to state the key things that they have seized, and that is on your screens right now. It includes plastic chairs, water hoses, and the list is endless. While still on illegal mining, the government, through the Environmental Protection Authority, is intensifying its crackdown on illegal mining with the delivery of 24 vehicles and 250 motorbikes to boost environmental monitoring and enforcement. The logistics were procured through a joint effort involving the Forestry Services Division, the Minerals Commission, the Water Resources Commission, the Ghana Geological Survey Authority, and the EPA as part of a broader interagency collaboration to strengthen the fight against illegal mining. Handing over the vehicles to the Chief Executive of EPA for distribution to partner institutions. The Lands and Natural Resources Minister, Amakofi-Boa, said the initiative is part of the government's strategic effort to enhance institutional capacity in combating illegal mining.
He's putting his money where it matters most. We had talked last week about the focus and declaring some of the forest areas and the critical forest reserve as no-go areas. It requires that if we are deploying the security forces in these areas, they will need these logistics to move around. And so this is really part of a larger strategic effort to make sure that the resources and the logistics needed to really be effective in making sure we can protect our water bodies and our forest reserves are in place. And so what you see here is government basically putting its money where its mouth is, making sure we invest in what it matters, and also showing how committed President Mahama is when it comes to this fight against illegal mining. We think this is going to really have a very significant impact. We've talked a lot about the effort of the Blue Water Guards. In some of the watering areas, they require some motorbikes to move around, to be given intelligence, to be getting in touch, and be in places at the same time. They can't be walking. They should have access to these areas. The National Anti-Illegal Mining Task Force is already deploying some of these areas. They will need these vehicles to be able to get deployed to these areas they are as critical. And I can't even emphasize how important these vehicles are. It's obvious that it's not enough. We need to continue to try to get more of the logistics required. And that's why we are even calling on corporate Ghana to come and be part of this effort.
Well, after receiving the vehicles and motorbikes, the EPA CEO, Professor Nana Ama-Brown-Kluge, said the move underscores government's real commitment to empowering agencies to tackle the Galamsey menace effectively.
A few months ago, we were in a meeting. We normally have meetings with our stakeholders, Minerals Commission, Forestry Commission, and Water Resources Commission from the EPA as chair. So during the meeting, we got a call from the President of Ghana, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, to urgently work it out to get logistics for the fight of the illegal mining. So we immediately started looking for funds to find these logistics that we see here today. So our mission is to find more logistics than what we see today. Today we have 24 Land Cruiser troopers and then 250 motorbikes to start with the fight. We already have some logistics in the system. This is an additional logistics to support the fight. We hope to secure more for the same mission that we are in. We know that this is a serious fight every Ghanaian is concerned about. So this is some of our efforts showing the commitment that we have on the fight. We can't do without the vehicles and the motorbike. So these logistics are to support our efforts. The logistics are going to be shared among these institutions, and the institutions are going to own them for their operations. So the same maintenance arrangements the individual institutions have for their vehicles will be applied the same way to these new vehicles. They are going to be owned completely by the institutions.
Well, let's take you back to our earlier story. We told you we'll be engaging Andy Apiakubi here on the Pulse. He is one of the lead counsel for Chairman Wontumi. Just to give us updates on that case before the court. We know that he's been granted bail, but he's yet to meet the bail conditions. Mr. Apiakubi, we appreciate your time here on the Pulse. Just update us, really. Have you met the bail conditions?
Ashanti Regional Chairman of the...
But you need...
Hello, Mr. Apiakubi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Great. I just wanted to find out if you've secured the release of Chairman Wontumi.
We have met the bail conditions, as you rightly put it, but we have not been able to secure his release because of the verification process, even as we have submitted the necessary document. So we are waiting for the verification for that. But it is important that the station the process of bail and what it requires, because bail ought not to be used as punishment, and therefore the grant of bail must also not come along with stringent conditions that are difficult to meet. So I believe we need to discuss that, and once we have the opportunity, we'll indicate the processes that you go through, even as the court will have given you an order that bail is granted.
As counsel for Chairman Wontumi, are you concerned about the bail conditions?
I'm concerned about the bail conditions, not particularly in respect of Chairman Wontumi, but as a process, judicial process, I'm concerned because it seeks to undermine the authority as the order that bail.
Dr. Kyebi, you have to position rightly, since we're losing you intermittently. Is your concern that the process is cumbersome?
The process is cumbersome and expensive. You know, when you are granted bail with surety to be justified, it means you need to tender as free. And what it is that the value, the amount by the special bail, you have to bring property that amount, that says or even more. When you want to tender the document, it needs to go through process of verification and valuation. And of that, need money. Because when you go to the risk board, the land or the land program, you have to pay the statutory fees. When you see for verification, the value of the, you have to pay at 1 of the value of the property. Assuming you are finding the property that is worth 15 million, then you have to pay a statutory fee of 150,000 cedis for the valuation to be done. Is it the case that when you have not found to be guilty and you have just applied for bail and bail is granted, you have to pay that amount of money, and why bring justice to somebody at that cost? These are some of the issues that need to be addressed in the process.
But then, as counsel for Wontumi, lead counsel, you can challenge the bail conditions in court if you feel that is quite high.
Yes, of course, and we did. But if the court is insistent on the bail application, and this is contingent upon an application, the Attorney General that bail conditions must be stringent or commensurate, so-called, with an offense which is not privileged yet. We were coming from the Attorney General, who doubles as the Minister for Justice. You see, it means that the whole system is incorrect and it needs to be addressed.
But then clarify for me, did you go to court to challenge the current bail conditions, or you're referring to when he was initially invited by Yoko?
When you, no, in all cases, even in the court system, yesterday I had to challenge the value as put on the justification, and I complained that it was excessive. Lobby that the court disagree with me. But again, saying that if you give a student, it means that you ask the accused who is not yet guilty, able to bring out an amount before he is released. And if you want to consider how an expert who may not have that resource before the court and being asked to pay such an amount of money before the value can be confirmed and subsequently his release is granted. How many of us in Ghana can afford that? Does it also mean that if you don't have money to be able to pay for that, you will be denied justice? And meanwhile, you will be in court upon the instance of the Minister for Justice, who doubles us and for that matter, the prosecutor.
And is this something you plan to challenge in court post this whole process?
I plan to challenge within the institutions of state. I will make sure that I make a presentation to Parliament for Parliament to show concern if there is a need for statutory limitations to be put on bail conditions. They let them. We will also make a presentation to the judiciary through. I'm going to petition the Ghana Bar Association to make a presentation to the judiciary for us to consider how do we deliver justice to accused persons who have not yet been pronounced guilty when they apply for bail, and the conditions that are attached to the grant of bail, and how fair these are.
And how soon should we expect these petitions to reach their decks?
We need to start a conversation in the public. So I believe that if you people believe that there is injustice in the delivery of justice within the application for bail, let's start a conversation and let's do the negotiation to the point that we all countries agree there is some injustice in the census and the grant is executed.
But back to your client, Chairman Wontumi, how long is the verification process supposed to last
We have made the conditions, but we are still going through the verification process. And indeed, it requires payment of money. That is where I have the difficulty, because you have to go to a state institution to confirm the value that valuers put on the property, and you need to pay 1% statutory payment for the state to be able to present it, for which you will have to pay for your patient and your release. And I'm saying that not for it can have to pay. So if you have to pay, meanwhile, the proof is on the attorney, and the staff proof has not been done. Yet you are being asked to pay amount of money before your bail would be effective. And have
Mr. Aboagye, I seem to be losing you intermittently. If you could just position rightly and take that point for us again so that we can let you go.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that if your release is subject to your payment of money, then it means that you are buying your freedom. And in the process as it is right now, if the court says that bring a justification of 10 million or 15 million, then it means that you will have to go through a process of verifying the authenticity of the document you are bringing, and the process of confirming the value of the property you have brought. And what I'm saying is that it costs you money to go through the verification, because when you go to Lands Commission, you pay statutory fees. When you go to AESL, that would have to confirm the value. You will pay something like 1% of the value of the property. And that 1%, assuming it is 15 million as the court pronounced yesterday, then you are supposed to pay 150,000 Ghana cedis before that confirmation will be done for you. And the alternative, if you go to Lands Commission for the valuation, the Lands Commission will have a limit up to 2.5 million, and therefore a request for 15 million will not be taken by Lands Commission. And even where the value is below 2.5 million Ghana cedis, the Lands Commission will have to constitute a board to sit down and do this evaluation. All this while you are still in custody. So what will be the effect of the grant of bail? And this is what is happening in Ghana. And it needs general attention and correction.
Thank you so much, Annie Aboagye, his lead counsel for Chairman Wontumi. Just briefly before I let you go, will Chairman Wontumi be released today?
It doesn't lie in my hands.
Okay.
We have done what a lawyer ought to do by way of securing the bail. We have even challenged the values put on the bail. And we have not been successful at refusing it. We have so finished the next document for the process of justification. And it's a process that is so, and so that I'm feeling that. And this is Ghana. And is it the case that we want to discriminate people for reasons that we don't have people to pay? And I'm saying that it is not payment cost, it's payment to others. And I'm saying, go to that, you will pay it. If you go AESL for confirmation of the values, you will pay the appropriate. And I'm particularly complaining about how much you are paying when you go to AESL.
Okay.
1% of the property. And in the value, in the case of 15 million,
okay,
you will be required to pay 150,000.
Yeah.
For charges for which the prosecution has not proven.
Okay.
Otherwise, you are staying in custody.
Okay.
I mean, how is this law effective in supporting our democracy?
Okay, thank you so much, Andy Apiakubi. He's lead counsel for Chairman Wontumi. Away from that, Ghana's military recruitment age limit is under scrutiny, with calls to extend the eligibility age from 25 to 35 years. Minister for Communications Samuel Nate George and Majority Chief Whip Roxanne Nelson Daffy-Amepo are pushing for an immediate review to allow more citizens to serve. The Ghana Armed Forces is currently recruiting, but citizens about 25 years are not eligible. However, security analyst and former military officer Colonel Festus Aboagye holds a contrary view. Listen.
The assumption in his statement is that they have not had the opportunity and must be given the opportunity. The question I'm asking is, when they were 20 years, or 21, or 22, 23, 24, 25, why didn't they seek the opportunity or seize it to recruit themselves or to be recruited into the armed forces? Why did they have to wait for another 5 years?
Maybe.
Let's assume that during the 5 years, they had attained professional skills. So we're allowing another 2 years for you to come in as a professional. We are not like America and the UK, where people are unwilling to join the service or services. So they are giving them inducements. Some will be promised higher education, some will be promised this. That is not the reality in Africa, where by and large we have a youth bulge, there is unemployment. And at any time that you want to recruit people into security services, you have far more than the numbers that you are looking for. So, sincerely, I don't understand the logic in the statement that he is making.
Well, Colonel Festus Aboagye, retired, also explains recruiting people above 25 years could lead to an increase in the health budget of the Defense Ministry.
The fact of the matter is that as we age, we begin to experience health challenges. So if you bring in older people, it is likely to increase the health budget of the Ministry of Defense. Because many more people who are aged who end up at the military hospitals looking for this or that treatment.
Well, join me on phone is the ranking member of Ghana's Parliamentary Select Committee on Defense and Interior, Reverend Inftim Fojo. We appreciate your time here on the Pulse. You've just been listening to varied opinions about this. Roxanne Nelson Daffy-Amepo himself, when he put out this post, started it out with quite an interesting intro, which I'm sure our audience is quite interested in. You can go on myjohnline.com and read that full story. He said that foot soldiers really have been raising concerns about it. And so we just wanted to get your thoughts about it. Should we review the age for recruitment into our military? What's your thoughts? Okay, whilst we reconnect the lines to him, you can share your thoughts with us or join us on TV on all our social media platforms. We've just been hearing from key members of the NDC push for a review of the age, really, for recruitment into the military. And we have been hearing varied opinions about it. We spoke to Colonel Festus Aboagye, who feels that that move is not necessary at this point in time. He raises concerns about that inflating our health budget, especially for the military, and the implications in the long run. We are still working our phone lines to get clear connection to Reverend Intim Forger. When we have him, we'll have that conversation here on the Pulse. But on a positive note, government has released some 9.5 million Ghana cedis to settle arrears owed CHAS since 2023. Stay with us here on the Pulse. After this quick turn, we'll tell you all about that. Please stay tuned in. Thanks for staying with us here on the Pulse. Well, let's move on to other interesting developments this afternoon on the Pulse. The acting Chief Justice Baffoe Bonnie is the subject of a fresh petition seeking his removal from office after a private citizen accused him of 4 instances of alleged stated misbehavior. Pursuant to Article 1461 of the 1992 Constitution, Justice Baffoe Bonnie, who was also serving in an acting capacity since the removal of the former Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu over similar allegations, we know, has been nominated by President John Dramani Mahama for that substantive appointment. However, even before his parliamentary vetting could take place, a new petition filed by a certain Bande Nabin Yusuf from Medina in the Lankwantana municipality has surfaced, citing fresh grounds for stated misconduct against him. Well, on your screens now are excerpts of that petition. Quite lengthy. We can go through all of it, but we'll do justice to a bit of it. Just let you know where it is from and who it is directed to. From Bande Nabin Yusuf, and he leaves his number there as well as where he's filing the petition from, and that's directed to the President of the Republic at the Jubilee House. And that petition is just citing some of the key concerns that he says are grounds enough for that article to be triggered. And that is on your screens right now. The facts, as he names it. He says on the 24th of September 2025, Israel Tete, Dafia Mepo Roxin Nelson, and a group calling itself the Ghana Law Society filed a lawsuit in the Supreme Court seeking constitutional relief against the Ghana Bar Association. On the 25th of September 2025, barely a day later, Ghana Law Society, the third plaintiff in the case, met with Justice Paul Baffoe Bonnie, who had just been nominated 2 days earlier as Chief Justice. If you recall, we brought you that story here live on the Pulse, where we showed you how they met with Paul Baffoe Bonnie. At that meeting, widely covered by the media, he states, and directly linked in news reports to pending litigation, Justice Baffoe Bonnie made comments which touched directly on issues central to the case. And he goes on to quote him, quote, "The bench is particularly interested in ... who ... which ... the Association A or Association B. What the bench is always interested in is whether we have representation for an accused person. So we will normally hear, quote, where is your lawyer? Who is your lawyer? And all that. And so since the case of Tariwaja and the Attorney General, the courts have always insisted that practicing lawyers must be in good standing. And as far as good standing is concerned to us, it means you must have a certificate from the GLC. So in your speech, Counsel, you said that you were going to make representation to GLC for recognition and then licensing. Well, this is quite lengthy. And to help you understand the issues better, I should leave it to the man himself, the man who filed this petition, who will join us here live on The Pulse. Bande Yusuf joins us here on The Pulse as we just break down this petition for you. I could have read it to you, really, but I feel he should speak to the issues himself. Mr. Bande, we appreciate your time here on The Pulse.
Mr. Good afternoon to your the Ghanaian people.
Okay.
Good afternoon, often the Ghanaian people and our viewers. I thank you for the opportunity. Petition I submit to the Office of the President for the removal of Chief Justice Baffoe Bonnie on the grounds stated pursuant to Article 146 of the Constitution. And for the sake of your viewers, Article 146 provides that a justice of the Supreme Court or a chairman of the regional tribunal shall not be removed from office except for stated misbehavior and incompetence, or on grounds of inability to perform the functions of his office arising from infirmity of body or mind. The conduct of Justice Baffoe Bonnie constitutes misbehavior because it breaches multiple provisions of the Judicial Code of Conduct of Judges and Magistrates of Ghana, and offends internationally recognized principles of judicial behavior, such as the Bangalore Principle of Judicial Conduct 2002.
Let's take it step by step, Bande.
Yeah. Yes.
What exactly is the conduct of the acting Chief Justice that you feel contradicts this article for which you want him removed? Let's start from there. Let's start from the facts you have as stated in your petition. What are these grounds of stated misbehavior?
For the sake of time, like you read earlier, on the 24th of September 2005, one Israel Tete, Dafiam Mekorox Nelson, and a group that calls itself the Ghana Law Society filed a lawsuit in the Supreme Court seeking a constitutional relief against the Ghana Bar Association. And on the 25th of September, barely a day after the Ghana Law, the Chief Justice had been nominated, the Law Society met with the Chief Justice in a conversation that was covered by the media. And in his remarks to the group that met with him, he made certain statements that you read earlier that seems to suggest that he is already siding with one side of the people who went to file the lawsuit. And as Constitution demands, this act, I believe, is against propriety, it's against judicial independence, it's against the integrity of the court, and it seems to be stating that the justice is practicing impartiality, which shouldn't be the case. This, if allowed,
but then, at what point did you establish that he was being partial? Because he welcomed them, they went on an official visit, and he welcomed them. That's the grounds you state for him being partial?
The principles and code of conduct of judicial judges and magistrates in Ghana, a case that is filed in court, the judge who is supposed to compile a bench to sit on the case by his office is not allowed to discuss issues issues relating to the same issue that have been filed in court with any of the parties. But in the case of Justice Bonnie, he had been seen live on camera having a conversation that seems to preempt that he sides with the decision of the plaintiff, which is the Israel Tete, Dapiameko, and the Ghana Law Society. And if this is allowed to pass, will dent the integrity of the party. You know, as stated, the justice is not supposed to only be seen. It's not only supposed to be seen as being done, but it must also manifest in the actions of the people who interpret the law.
And I'm going through your petition. Really, you state different code of conduct, which you say the current acting Chief Justice breached. One key conduct you make mention here is judicial independence. How did he breach this?
So, judicial independence, the court states that judges exercise their judicial functions independently.
Okay.
and free from extraneous influence.
Okay.
And also with regards to the Bangalore principle, the value one, independence, emphasizes that judicial independence is prerequisite to the rule of law and the fundamental guarantee for fair trial. By entertaining and meeting with the litigant and then endorsing elements of their legal arguments, Justice Baffoe Bonnie compromises the very independence that he is sworn to protect, and for which reason I believe the law should take its course, and the institution that is mandated to handle this should do as demanded.
It's clear you're reading out your petition to me. Critics who have seen this petition allege that this is sponsored by the opposition. Is that the case?
Well, so you see, this is not political, as someone might want to read meanings into. I am a citizen of Ghana, and by my right, I'm exercising my right as a citizen of Ghana and helping to protect the Constitution of Ghana and also build on our democracy. It is not got to do with any political party. It is not got to do with the interests of any individual. It is a constitutional right, and I'm exercising it in helping protect our Constitution and help build our democracy.
How build our democracy, you say? So you've submitted this petition to the Jubilee House?
Yes, I did. And you see, in this case, the acting Chief Justice, who was supposed to be the one to determine the prima facie case in this matter, is the person of interest now. And so I suggested to the President that one cannot be a judge in his own matter. And so he should appoint the next in command to take care of this petition and recommend the appropriate.
And who is the next in command?
The next in command should be in the person of one Justice
Gabriel Scott.
Yes, Kwama.
Okay. So stay with me. I'll come back to you as we just look at your petition. Thankfully, I have Kwekwan Sansari, who is a former director of the Ghana School of Law, joining the conversation here on The Pulse. I'm sure you've been going through this petition. What's your initial response to it?
Unmeritorious and without any legal merit. As you rightly explained to your viewers, the group led by Israel Tete and Tafia Mebo, Roxy Nelson, appealed the courtesy call on the acting Chief Justice. And after they were done, the Chief Justice thanked them, for the kind way, they said about him. I don't see how, acting the Chief Justice in his administrative function, can be accused of judicial impropriety. He was not exercising any judicial function. He was not exercising any critical judicial function. He was not sitting as a judge. They did not call on him, in his capacity as a sitting judge. They went to him, say that, we are a group, calling ourselves that come to pay a courtesy call of you and to throw a polite thing that we may require a license for our members to be able, to practice and, have audience before the superior and lower courts of Ghana. That, does not amount to a misconduct, to say the least. And therefore, the president, must dismiss, the petition outright.
Dismiss the petition, you say. There are already talks that this may spell doom for judicial service, especially with the precedents that this administration set with the removal of the former Chief Justice. What's your thoughts on that?
This instant petition is without any legal merit. It is wholly unmeritorious. It does not measure up to the standard. The petitioner, is seeking to invoke the Ghana Judicial Code of Conduct and the national principles, particularly the Bangalore Principle Value 1. None of them is apposite. And I don't think that we should stretch Article 146 to a point of absurdity. When we do that, it means that all the judges, can now stand and be accused of judicial impropriety, because from time to time, they make extrajudicial pronouncements at services, invitations, and other things. The rule of law does not suggest that a judge, is not supposed to, express his views. Here we are dealing with an acting Chief Justice who has been paid a courtesy call by a group of lawyers. And it says that the step you are taking is in the right direction. You will need a license to practice. How does that constitute judicial misconduct? Unless the petitioner does not understand the expression judicial misconduct or judicial impropriety, and the removal process by virtue of Article 146, as Justice Aboagye point out in the famous in this country, that it is not everything a judge does, that will call for all, that will attract the invocation of Article 146. So, no, even if a judge, is about to have his breakfast or his lunch, or dinner, he has to be careful, he does not offend Article 146. It is not what the framers of the Constitution, enlisted. And we must be serious as a nation. The people, potential petitioners, should be educated about the nuances of Article 146, and not just wake up any day, and petition the president for the removal of, an acting Chief Justice or substantive Chief Justice. Else, the administrative function of the Chief Justice will disappear.
Thank you so much, Doc, for your time here on The Pulse. We also spoke earlier to Bandi. Away from that, let's take you back to our earlier story. We told you that Ghana's military recruitment age is under scrutiny, and we are just working the lines now to speak to Roxanne Nelson Dafiamepo, who raised this, and joining us as well is security analyst Victor Doke, and as well as the ranking member on Parliament's Select Committee on Defence and Interior, Reverend Intim Fojo. We appreciate your time, gentlemen, here on The Pulse. I'll start with Victor Doke. As a security analyst, do you think it's time for us to review the recruitment age for our security services here at Ghana?
Very much for having me. I think when we take a look at the military itself, this institution that has its own standard operation procedures, and if you look at the processes of recruitment, the military does not, go ahead and start advertising for recruitment if it does not, consult the government, because they have to give clearance for that matter before it goes ahead. And when you look at the age that has been pegged, there's a reason for that. You're looking at bringing in young, able, active, men and women who would be very able to go through the rigorous physical exercises for that matter. And there's a specific reason. It cuts across not only in Ghana, but elsewhere on the continent. So it is not just something you can review, okay, and then it will take effect for that matter. There's a lot of conversation that has to go, into that for it to become, viable. As it is now, the age limit that has been pegged is right for the Army standards. They have a reason so that we have young, able people coming in who would be able to withstand the rigorous trainings and then go through the various rankings. So I think if anyone or institution...
Doc, I seem to have lost connection to you.
If anyone wants to bring in or come up with conversations with regards to, reviewing the age limit. It's a whole holistic national conversation. It's not just a cross-section. And I think they should look at the implications, the negative implications they will have before that conversation should even be brought to the fore.
And we've just been hearing from the likes of Colonel Festus Aboagye speak about the implication to our budget if we start recruiting individuals who are older. Your thoughts on this?
Come again?
We've been speaking to key individuals in the security sector with the likes of Colonel Festus Aboagye. He's of the opinion that when we start recruiting individuals who are older, we then put strain on our health budget, especially with our security services. What's your thoughts on that?
Very right. So, the respected Petition has spoken. Now, he's very correct. You're looking at the age limit from 25 downwards, and then those who are posing or 30 plus upwards. Of course, two variations here. Those that fall into the category of the first one are very active, and those who fall into the second category are somewhat, considered as older. So there are implications. What a 25 and under can do, the 35 may not be able to do. So you see, all this requires the fact that when you go onto the training grounds, not only the aptitude tests or whatever, the training grounds, expose a lot of what ails those who are fit and those who are not fit. The older you get, the body is not still the same if we understand these dynamics. So at the end of the day, what the colonel is trying to say is it puts a strain on the health aspect. It means a lot of people will not be able to go through, they'll be having problems, i.e. maybe broken knees and whatever. They're going to remote areas for trainings. The weather conditions may have effects on people. And I personally have had encounters with people who have gone through the training and have opted out. They were even younger. Because of health reasons, they came out. So if you are proposing that people who should be 30 plus or whatever, then it means you should be ready to also cater for their health needs if it arises.
Reverend Intim Fojo, one of the key members of Parliament Select Committee on Defence and Interior. We appreciate your time here on The Pulse. You've just been hearing this proposal. From where you sit as the minority, is it even the way to go?
His call misconceived, and he called to want to increase the age limit for recruitment to military in Ghana is misconceived. If you check the basis for these calls from Honorable St. George, from Honorable Dafia Mekpo, one of them is that these are calls from his constituent. His foot soldiers are demanding that we recruit people above the age of 35.
It's interesting you make mention of that. And for our audience just watching, it's imperative that we quote that portion, because I'll just come into that portion about the background to this and why this is coming up at this point in time. He says in his post, I'm quoting Roxanne Nelson Dafia Mekpo's post, and he says, I have had many calls from our party foot soldiers regarding the army recruitment and maximum age for prospective applicants. They aren't happy. And so it raises a question, really. This is just for the boys, right? Jobs for the boys.
Yeah, so it's very dangerous to go on that premise. The Chief of Defense Staff and the leadership of the Ghana Armed Forces are doing a professional job. They are recruiting according to well-best practice. I don't think there should be any political interference at this point in time. Let us leave and allow them to do the work they have commenced so creditably and ensure that deserving persons, fit persons, without consideration to political background or where they come from, are recruited. You don't want an aged military. There's no military in any part of the world who desires aged military. You would want to desirably keep about 75 to 85% of your battalion, below the age of 30. You want to get the best out of them. You want to set recruitment policy related to age such that by the time you have a soldier who is 30, 35, they would have received minimum 10 years of training, or averagely around 8 to 10 years of training. They must have risen to supervisory, to leadership roles. And as their strengths are going up, the roles that require a lot of strenuous, that put a lot of strain on one's physical fitness is reduced. You check the references that the two, I think, Honorable Dr. Baffoe raised, for instance, Australia, Germany, France, and all the examples that he raised.
Yeah.
They recruit as low as 17.5 years. And so a number of them, majority of their population, are very young, between 18 to 24. So when you have a majority of your soldiers within that age bracket, you can have, the luxury of keeping a higher upper limit, where just about 1% or so may be within that remit. But when you even reference, I really don't even understand why these calls are coming. They are not necessary. When you look at the recruitment advertisement by Ghana Armed Forces, you would notice that there are various sections and various trades and various requirements. There's no one age limit for all the categories of recruitment they have advertised. For instance, when you go to section F, you find that the age limit for the categories indicated under category F is 30. It's not 24. You understand? And when you're even doing enlistment, whenever Ghana Armed Forces is doing enlistment, that is for officers. In some specialized courses, some specialized skills like medical doctors and other specialized skills, sometimes they even recruit up to 35. And so these calls are needless. The policy already sets the framework, and Ghana Armed Forces is doing the right thing. I don't see why a section of MPs from within NDC to want to make populist requests to interfere with the quality job that Ghana Armed Forces is doing. Let us take a cue from what happened in Liberia. In Liberia, in history tells us when the leadership at the time made a mistake and tampered with the age policy and even responded to foot soldiers' calls and made recruitment political, ended up bringing in politicians and political foot soldiers who are within 35 and above. What we had was the beginning of instability in Liberia. We don't want to get there. Let us allow the Chief of Defense Staff and his team to do this job with absolute neutrality, professionalism, and within the appropriate age limits that they have set, which in my assessment are fair. They are within best practice worldwide, and no politician should want to attempt to interfere. In any case, Honorable Sam George is a cabinet minister. If he feels strongly that in a country where a median age in Ghana is 21.5, in a country where median age is 21.5, he thinks that the best way to curb unemployment is to target Ghana Armed Forces and to increase age limit to 35 to satisfy party foot soldiers. He can make that proposal to cabinet. And if the cabinet too thinks that that's the direction their government wants to go, they can table that cabinet memo or decision, if it so passes, for consideration of Ghana Armed Forces Council. But if that
comes to Parliament, what would be the position of the minority?
Well, for us in minority, we don't see the need to discuss review of recruitment age, to changing it to any other limit. We think that the current regime is okay because there are even people of 35 years who are eligible to be enlisted into certain categories. So why are they making these populist calls? We have medical doctors, we have some specialist engineers, architects, and others who sometimes get enlisted into the Ghana Armed Forces between 30 and 35. So why are they making this call? Sometimes they need to consult, they need to read around, they need to be informed. When you are getting calls from your foot soldiers, you need to make further consultations to know that what you are calling for is nothing new. But if you don't make those calls from an informed point of view, you generalize it and to want even non-trained men to be recruited at 35. The kind of training that non-tradesmen go through, how many 35-year-olds can go through? They can't even survive, and you can't get the best out of them as they progress through. And so let us leave things. If there's any cost that NDC wants to bring into Ghana Armed Forces at this point in time, and what our men and women in uniform need most is support, is retooling, is resourcing. And so that is a priority we should be discussing. The Ghana Armed Forces doesn't need to review in age limit. What they need is resources. They should make releases to them. Goods and services are not being released. They don't have the kind of resources to run the way we want them to run. They are suffering. They need releases. That is the cause that Honorable Sam George and Honorable Dafia Meko must join for us to advocate for the Ghana Armed Forces. They also need, the kind of equipment that will make them as formidable as we always want them to be.
So they need equipment, you say. They need equipment, you say. But as a politician, it's imperative I take your view on this. There are already concerns that these are all attempts by politicians to infiltrate key institutions where when they take over power, they then push their members to key state institutions. What's your thoughts on this as a minority?
Well, I have no evidence to the assertion you're making, but they have provided evidence that their constituents who are much older are trying to force their way into Ghana Armed Forces. And I am saying that we have to resist such pressures and allow the Ghana Armed Forces to do their work as professional as they are. We didn't put any pressure on them to want to change age limit. They are informed by best practice, health considerations, fitness considerations, and getting the best out of your personnel, and that is, they're doing a good job. Let's not interfere politically unduly. If there is unemployment situation, which is a major national security crisis, it cannot be, Ghana Armed Forces cannot be the only avenue to curb that. The screaming masses of youth that need jobs. You can't even satisfy 1% of them just by Ghana Armed Forces Avenue. They promised 24-hour economy. They should create more jobs, so that people, youth, 35, 38, 40, any age at all, can have jobs, and then around the clock they will work. So let them look at sustainable job creation, methods and avenues, and stop eyeing Ghana Armed Forces recruitment as an avenue to satisfy foot soldiers. It will be very dangerous for our armed forces. Let's not put undue pressure on our leaders, the leadership of Ghana Armed Forces. Let's allow them to do the work they have commenced as creditably as they began, without political interference.
Thank you so much, Reverend Intim Fojo. He's ranking member of the Defense and Interior Committee in Parliament. Earlier, I spoke to Victor Doke, who joined the conversation as well, just to get his thoughts on this. Well, away from that, labor unions are intensifying pressure on government to conclude negotiations on public sector base pay before the 2026 budget is presented to Parliament after this month. Leading the charge is the Ghana National Association of Teachers, NAT, which is demanding a minimum 10% increase in base pay to cushion workers against the rising cost of living. The Ghana Medical Association has made similar calls for improved remuneration to address the mounting economic challenges, while the National Association of Graduate Teachers, they have also added their voice to it, pushing for better compensation and better working conditions. With the 2026 budget fast approaching, labor unions are urging government to prioritize workers' welfare and reach a fair mutual beneficial agreement. Speaking on PM Express last night, NAT President Reverend Isaac Owusu emphasized that workers expect the government to finalize negotiations with labor before the budget is presented to Parliament.
If you engage the service of an employee and the person render the service for the next 10 to 13 months and you've not paid such employee, it's an unfair labor practice. So it is a duty of the employer to make sure that the said employee are paid. Then the second leg of the issue is that those of us in the service, we are in the service based on our collective agreement. And currently, our collective agreement, I'm talking in terms of the teachers, the lifespan has reduced from 3 years to 2 years. So as I'm talking to you, July 2026, the collective agreement will expire. And we know that next year's budget, all things being equal, will be ready in November. So there is a need for us to finish the negotiation, the negotiation of the new collective agreement, so that the finance minister can factor such agreement into the budget. So you see that whatever move that we make, it is not out of emotion, but based on the law, the agreement between the employer and the employees through their unions. So our demands are very legitimate. And so you know that this year's base pay, which was 10%, His Excellency for the first time at least appeared before organized labor and pleaded that looking at the situation that we find ourselves in, at least we are all Ghanaian, and so we should agree and accept the 10%. Even though our members were not happy with this, because some even tag us, and as usual, that we have gone for brown envelope and green envelope and what have you. But we know that, in fact, we're in a difficult situation. But currently, Evans, with the 10%, now look at the utility tariff service. They are demanding for huge increment, of which even the PURC want to engage stakeholders so that come January, they will approve some tariff increment for either ECG or Ghana Water. So now if you are with 10% and already things are hard, you see, the Ghanaian worker is always managing. And then when you ask them, how are you coping, they will tell you it is only God. And that God is, I don't know, but I think that our demands are very legitimate because it's based on the law, and when the law is expiring this year, we can't sit on the fence and say that, oh, because of A, B, C, D, we are not going to negotiate. That one, our members will not take it lightly with us, as you know, leaders. So we have no option than to make sure that by the close of this month or early November, we should be able to finish all the institutional negotiations. So
Meanwhile, Joy News lead data analyst Isaac Ofieje has assessed the feasibility of the meeting of these demands by the labor unions, that 10% demand really, and he's quite concerned that this could further strain the already fragile economic purse. Listen.
Finance Minister was that this time around he wants the 2026 budget to be read in October. So essentially, if you have anything that you want the ministry or the finance minister or government to consider, this is the best time to bring it across. But the most important thing is to look at the factors. This is the first time we are seeing labor or some of the labor unions actually requesting for such a low increment in their base pay. 10% is very, very low compared to the other initial percentages that they mentioned, some around 60%, 50%, but this time around they're going for 10% minimum. And we understand that it's simply because of, in terms of numbers, the improved economic indicators where we know inflation has now fallen from 23.1% at the beginning of the year to now 9.4%. The exchange rate situation is a bit better relatively, and if you look at the fuel prices as well. But we need to also ask, when was the last time Labour got an increase in their base pay? Somewhere February, where they enjoyed that 10%. And the promise from the president was that, take this, and when things get better, we will come and then improve it for you. Possibly that's the reason why they are coming at government. But we've looked at the numbers, and the question is, does government have the fiscal muscle to even accommodate such a 10%? And what we are learning is that if you look at the budget projections, if you look at the 2025 budget, it looks like government was already anticipating it. That's why they are hoping to increase the employee compensation budget by some 18%, moving it from the current projection of 4 billion Ghana cedis to about 89 billion Ghana cedis by next year. And subsequently, government is also hoping to increase it by 13% and some 14%, 2027 and 2028. So if you ask me why this is coming at this point in time, it's simply because Labour is aware that government is finalizing preparation for the budget reading, which, according to the finance minister, he was projecting it will be read this month. But we know the normal time.
Normal time usually is November.
Well, Employment and Labour Relations Minister Dr. Rashid Pelpo has been responding to the demands on PM Express. He says the government will try and accommodate the demands. Listen.
That is the issue we are tackling now. How much are we bringing into the budget, into the economy? What is the levels of output and input? First of all, at the end of the year, have we increased in the yearly growth of our states? What is the level of growth in any case? And if the output in our input has increased, we have a capability of improving the employment, employing everybody. But if it is the same or even reducing, how are you going to do it? So I just want workers to also think that, know that the present situation we find ourselves, there are two things about it. There's going to be either you decide to employ people or you satisfy many, many demands that I'm making. More than 12 organizations have sent letters to me and saying that they are going on strike if we don't satisfy them. Are we increasing their salaries to satisfy them, or are we going ahead to employ more people? It's the same budget we are running. So it's a huge thing that we are tackling, and it's a very...
Specifically for the teacher, for Eric, and for Mutala, when are their issues going to be resolved? Because right now they are protesting. They've not been paid, in this case, for 10 months, in this case, for 13 months. What's the solution for them?
I just assured them, before the end of this year, they are going to be satisfied. We will address the problem. In fact, we feel the pain. We feel what they did to them, which has a repercussion this year. You just enter office, you are inheriting a budget which didn't take care of an arrangement they made, and not even sure about financial clearance. You've taken office. The budget, 3-month budget they gave to us didn't include them at all. So you come into office and you begin to now see that there's a huge deficit in running the economy, and that so much had been ignored, so much had been hidden from the public. You will very soon get to understand what we are talking about when we talk about the economy, the rot of the economy, and that why we call this, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama called the whole country a crime scene. It's indeed a crime scene. It's so terrible. If you get to understand the depth of crime that came into the country.
Well, let's bring in now Labour consultant Austin Game here on the pulse. We appreciate your time. We've just been hearing from key Labour institutions make that push for an increment, 10% increment in base pay. From where you sit, is that request even feasible?
Well, thank you so much. First of all, it is good to have expectations. It's part of the industrial relations process to have expectations. But having expectation is one thing, and the capability of the financial health of the nation vis-a-vis all other things that workers are interested in also, such as good roads, such as good health system, such as good environment, and this debilitating guarantee that is polluting our water that must be resolved. All those things call for financial, support, and it's on the same financial pie that will have to be sliced for everybody. Now, our productivity level is not the best in this country, because we normally base our salary adjustment on inflation and traditionally cost of living, as the case may be. But those things are macro things that has nothing to do with, that can be handled through a national tripartite committee meeting, where maybe some other variables could be used. But generally speaking, we are supposed to look at the financial health of the nation and what is properly available to be put on the pay. I think this should be a very good lesson for us this year, when inflation is now about 9.4. By end of year, it is likely to be either 9 or 8% thereabout. And so we should desist from paying ourselves based on inflation, and we must pay ourselves based on productivity, both private and public. And therefore, this year, maybe it's a bit too late, but if I were to be in the shoes of the President and the Minister of Finance and Employment and Labor Relations, definitely from next year, we should never be paying people based on macro indicators, but based upon what we have control over, the salary, wages, some kind of allowances, those that are to be paid, those that are to be extinguished, all that must come through productivity as the case may be. And so I agree they should have good expectations, but when they get to the table to negotiate, it is not going to be adversarial. It has to be based on good faith negotiation. That means an interest-based approach. And so I wish them well. I don't think that it is entirely feasible per se from where I sit vis-a-vis the performance of the economy so far. If we were at the economic forum, and so I do know that what have been projected and what we are doing, we might not be able to, we are an IMF, and so I think that it's important that they have good expectations. But
so from where
is
you
doable
sit,
and feasible is what they must agree to do.
From where you sit, our expectations may not be realistic because of our commitment to the IMF. But this administration, when they took over, promised that once the economy begins to, see positive changes, then we'll see increment in our salaries as well. Isn't that a fair call for Labour to be making at this point in time?
Yes, I appreciate that. I don't think I'm against it. The only thing is that we pay based upon the financial health of a business or a country's pace. So if the financial health of the nation is okay and we can afford to pay it vis-a-vis all the things, because the workers have to go to hospital if they are sick. They have to drive on good roads if they have to go there. They have to have public transport. They have to get good environment. They have to drink water. Electricity must be stable for us. All these things are calling for financial support. And so therefore, something, if they go to the table, the openness on the part of the employer, being government, because they must share relevant information based on Section 97 of the Labour Act, and then they determine what the firms can accommodate. They are very reasonable people, and I trust both parties to be able to do it.
Thank you so much for your time here on The Pulse. Austin Game, a Labour consultant. Well, still on the Labour front, the unpaid nurses and midwives, plus teachers who have been working for the last 9 to 13 months without pay, will have to wait a bit longer, for at least 2 more months before getting paid. That's according to the Minister for Employment and Labour Relations, Dr. Rashid Pelpel. A number of unpaid nurses and teachers, groups numbering over 6,000, held a protest, as you may be aware, picketing the Health and Finance Ministries in demand of immediate payment of all salary arrears owed them. Well, listen to the Labour Minister narrate to Evans Mensah on PM Express just how they plan to deal with this. But before that, let's listen to Labour make the demand.
In the morning with no hope of how you are going to get money to buy food or get money for transportation to work. But we try to, depend on family and friends. And how long are you going to depend on family and friends?
For me, I owe like almost 10,000.
10,000 cedis.
I have colleagues who owe about 21,000, 11,000, and the rest.
Who do you owe? Where are you getting the money from? Where are you borrowing from?
Yes, I'm borrowing from friends and then colleague teachers. That's what we are living on.
How does it affect your work?
Mentally and emotionally, we are not stable because myself, for instance, I wake up in the morning, going to school, going to class hungry. Meanwhile, the child that I'm going to teach is satisfied or has eaten. Like you feel like just sleep. It got to a time my siblings wanted me to come home because they are working, I'm also working, but I call them every day for money and all that. So it affects us mentally, and we are not stable. We are not stable because sometimes when you go to class, if you don't take care, you might vent your anger on the children.
You now listen to the Labour Minister, Rashid Pelpo, addressing their concerns.
There is some level of political decision attached to it, not necessarily because they wanted to pay them, but just to give them the impression that they too are employed. But, we are not complaining. We are looking at the situation where we can satisfy the will of the people who have given us the mandate. And we are working towards ending this problem of unpaid. We acknowledge the fact that young people as they are need to start life and need to be comfortable working for what they have been employed to do. And so we are doing everything to make it possible that we solve this problem maybe before the end of the year.
So again, for Murtala and Eric, your assurance to them is that before the end of the year they'll be paid?
They will be satisfied.
Okay.
But the workers insist government must pay them immediately or they will be compelled to take a decision after a 3-week ultimatum issued last week.
After month of our demonstration, there was a stakeholder engagement, and our union, the nursing union, came out with an ultimatum, 3 weeks ultimatum for the employer to make sure that at the end of the 3 weeks, all nurses should be paid. So the 3 weeks elapsed. I don't think we can give you any information about that. So we are expecting that at the end of the 3 weeks, there should be a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
If otherwise, there will be further stakeholder engagements and appropriate information will be given accordingly.
Away from the Labour front, Elegant Homes Construction has assured patrons who troop to the Accra International Conference Centre from the 23rd to the 26th of October massive discounts and a showcase of their new affordable homes. Here's why they say you should choose them.
Elegant Homes, we are into construction. We also have real estate that we sell 3, 4, 5 bedroom detached houses. So yes, everybody watching us, this year we have different things in stock for everybody. We have different designs available, not only our designs, but you can also bring your own design for it to be customized for you. We're giving a 10% discount on all our prices, including other things.
Well, that's why you should stick and stay with us. And we promise you that this year's Habitat Fair will be massive. My name is Faustina Safo. That's how we wrap up the Pulse. For more news, please log on to myjoyonline.com. Have a pleasant day as you enjoy the rest of our programs. Bye.